funny, when I first brought him home that day, I thought, this dog ain't afraid of shit. And from then on, he was known as No Fear Franklin, aka Frankie Knuckles. Today's episode is one I've been sitting with for a little bit. I've recorded it in my head 100 times. I've started it, stopped it, avoided it. Unfortunately, I can't avoid it forever. I have to face reality, and I'm glad you guys are here with me as I try to navigate the rest of my days. Today, I'm talking about Franklin, my dog, my baby, my best friend, my soulmate, Mr. Memes, Hammy Jammy, Tanklin, Wimpy Jimpies, whatever else I called him that he didn't answer to because he had selective hearing, the leader of our pack. Franklin, who was wholeheartedly the love of my life. Understood in a way only very few people who've ever loved an animal this deeply can understand. If you're listening to this and you've ever loved an animal, not had or owned an animal, but truly loved an animal, this episode is for you. How I found Franklin, or I guess. I wasn't really looking, I didn't go looking for Franklin. Well, not really. It was March 2021. My bulldog Roxy was terminally ill and on borrowed time. She was in congestive heart failure, she had Cushing's disease, and she was diagnosed with a fast-spreading and inoperable tumor in her mouth on December 4th, 2020. A good friend had said they saw such a cute bulldog featured on a local pet adoption segment, Pet Connection, hosted by a local newscaster. Every week, they showcase pets from local shelters and rescues that are up for adoption. Apparently, this specific Thursday evening segment, they featured what was to become Franklin. Kelly, my friend, sent me a Facebook message and told me about him and said I should reach out to the rescue and sent me the link. I remember when I first saw the picture of him, he reminded me so much of my first bulldog, Sophia Loren, like a spitting image. I figured he had already been spoken for, as bulldogs are a hot commodity, especially in shelters and rescues. It had been days since the segment, but I figured, why not? The most that can happen is they can tell me he's already been adopted. Well, with some back and forth with the rescue and some patience, within weeks I was approved and chosen to adopt the little guy. I wasn't the first choice, though, as others had inquired before me. But as fate would have it, the people who were originally approved decided Franklin wasn't exactly the dog for them at that time. I think it was all part of the bigger plan. So I drove to the middle of nowhere, Vermont, to meet him. He, named Sir Elton John by the rescue, was so little and skinny. He was wearing this sweatshirt that said Mommy's Boy that was 4 sizes too big. He was so eager to jump in my car. He did just that, and away we went. I still had Roxy at the time. Her health was declining drastically, and just a month later I had to say goodbye to my soul dog. This was a huge blow. Thankfully, my mom was there to help me and to help take care of Franklin. Losing her, I felt like I completely lost myself. I almost didn't make it out of that one alive. My bond with Franklin didn't happen overnight. He had come from a puppy mill and was used solely for breeding. He had never had any human contact in his 7-year life. He was never taken on a walk, was never brought inside at any point during the year, never had seen a vet, never even had a name. He was just kept in an outdoor crate the size of a bedroom with 30 other dogs. So this was quite the change for him and me, and it was like having a 7-year-old puppy. For the first few months, he tested my patience most days. Between the constant barking and the total lack of potty training, he had me questioning my decision a few times. But after a few months, something changed. I cannot pinpoint a time or a specific event, but he grew so much in that time, he really started to settle down and allowed me to see the character that he truly was, and what a special one that turned out to be. And from that day on, he wasn't just my dog. He was my shadow, my constant, my protector. Our life together. Life with Franklin was all but normal. A few months after getting him, I had rescued 2 more bulldogs. That's where Hoagie and Delilah came in. Delilah was also a puppy mill rescue, but she came to me very much unlike Franklin. She was terrified of humans, rightfully so. She shook whenever one was near, refused to come out of her crate, not even to eat. She slowly and surely began to trust Franklin, and Franklin trusted me. She would follow him everywhere. He was the best big brother for her. Her and I both knew it. After she settled in, her motherly instincts kicked in, and she would always make sure he was safe. Our life was one hell of a ride, me and my 3 bulldogs, between being poisoned in our home by toxic mold, which caused us to have to leave immediately where we were, as in we lost everything, and we became homeless. Not that kind of homeless, but the kind where you don't have a home to call your own. We stayed between hotels, Airbnbs, other short-term housing. I think they kind of got used to always moving, unfortunately. But as long as we were together, things were always enough. Franklin was also there for me when I lost my Uncle Doug, the man who raised me as his own, on July 1st, 2021. His loss was unexpected and extremely devastating. Franklin was right there. It was just him and I still at that time. Our family was hit really hard with his loss, but Franklin was there. Unfortunately, I suffered another loss in January of 2021, the 19th. I unexpectedly lost my father to a heart attack. That hit hard too. It wasn't as much of a surprise as my father has been unhealthy for as far back as I can remember. It still caught me completely off guard. I still wasn't ready, but Franklin was there. Franklin and I shared some silly moments between the two of us that I'll cherish forever. I brought him to his first Hell's Angel run. I think he hated all the loud bikes, but I had literally just gotten him, and he was still pretty skinny. So many people at the run bought him burgers or offered him food. Pretty sure he loved that part. When Franklin and I first moved into a new apartment, the end of May of 2021, I remember him acting crazy this one day, something out of the ordinary for him, as he was at that point rather calm and chill, as he was an older dog. But one day he was literally sprinting back and forth through my apartment, barking incessantly, and it was almost like he was playing with another dog. But at the time, it was just Franklin and I. I didn't have any other dogs. He then sat and barked and barked and barked at this pile of plastic bins in the corner. I hadn't unpacked very much yet, so there was literally bins and boxes everywhere. For the life of me, I wasn't understanding what was getting him into that mode at that very moment. The bins he was barking at, they were all Roxy's things, her clothes, her dishes, her leashes and harnesses. Everything in those bins was hers. To this day, I have no idea what sparked that rush of energy and such playfulness. It only happened just that one time, and never again. It was the weirdest thing. I'd be lying if I didn't say it made my heart smile. There were so many other special times. Our first winter together, it was a huge snowstorm, and it was real late, at like 2 a.m. I was outside with Franklin and Delilah, and I let go of their leads so they could frolic in the snow for a minute and do their business. I swear it was the first time either of them had seen snow. Well, I remember Delilah taking off, and she's quick. Not being ready to chase after her, I had to think quick. I told Franklin to stay put so I could run after her and get her. As I'm trying to chase this quick little shit down, I turn around only to see Franklin taking off full speed in another direction. I don't know how I managed to round both of them up and not topple over in exhaustion. I'm not quite sure. I was so mad at them. In retrospect, it was just funny. I can imagine I just looked like an angry mom chasing after their toddler, swearing up and down under their breath. That was the first and last time they ever did anything of the sort. I was so angry with both of them, as I swear the temperature was well under freezing, and I had a pair of slides on and no gloves. It was all in good fun, though. Franklin was the center of a lot of my TikTok videos, between the couples quizzes, the Kevin Hart best friend skit, and my favorite, the relentless music sing-along videos. Poor him. He hated the camera. He hated it. Whenever I would be filming him, I couldn't even sneak it. He always knew. He would do anything in his power to completely avoid it. He loved the drive-thru and getting sugar and nuggies, or sometimes a pup cup. His eyes would light up when he realized we were going through a drive-thru. I'd often pull up to a gas pump to get gas. He'd get confused and think we were at the drive-thru. I hated letting him down. He was impatient waiting in line. He'd be drooling so much he'd have these huge bubbles foaming at the corners of his mouth. It was quite cute. Those were Franklin's best days, and very much mine too. He had this obsession with digging into his bed or wherever he would try to lay down. His little arms would spend 10 minutes shuffling around making the perfect bed, only for him to lay 5 feet away from it. He'd huff and puff till he got the blankets just right, only to get up 30 seconds later and do it again. I sure do miss all the digging. Sorry about that. He loved his crate. He hated the clothes I dressed him in. He wasn't a cuddler. I would sneak in next to him if I saw the opportunity, but like clockwork, he would stand up, do a complete turn, lay down with his butt right in my face. He loved to eat. One of his favorite snacks was watermelon. I used to say that the day he refuses watermelon, I'll know it's that day. And sure enough, the last 2 days of his life, he didn't want to eat anything, even his watermelon. He used to go everywhere with me, pet stores, Nana's house, all the family functions at my dad's house and at my cousin's house. Everyone would comment on how cute he was, ask if they could take a picture, or comment on how big his paws were. They were more like the paws of like a Bernese Mountain Dog. They were different, but made him special. His paws are one of my favorite parts about him. Franklin never met another dog he didn't like, a person he didn't like, and even children. He used to let my cousin's little niece and nephew all but ride him around her house when we visited during the holidays. He was so tolerant, easygoing. He literally turned out to be the absolute best boy I could ever have asked for. I missed the days of not being able to use the restroom without him at my feet just staring up at me as if he was supposed to be there. It was so innocent. Although extremely independent, Franklin always had to be within eyes distance of me. He never let me quite out of his sight. He didn't fully fall asleep till Mom fell asleep. The other dogs would be snoring away, but Franklin would be resting his eyes, never allowing himself to fully rest until Mommy was ready to rest. If he could have spoken, the stories he would tell. I hoped they would all be good ones. To me, they were the best ones. I'd give anything for just one more of them. He was so smart. He was a wonky boy between his humongous paws and the arch in his back that made him look as if his front and his back end were two completely different dogs. But to me, he was the perfect, most handsomest, distinguished gentleman. I am so lucky that he chose me to be his mama. Franklin ruled the roost. I'm not even quite sure he knew he ruled the roost, but boy, did he. He was the calm before the others were ever the storm. Funny, when I first brought him home that day, I thought, this dog ain't afraid of shit. And from then on, he was known as No Fear Franklin, aka Frankie Knuckles. I'm so glad my dad and uncle got to meet him before they passed. I hope he's keeping them in line up there in the clouds, much like what he did for me here, inconspicuously, of course. When Franklin got sick, this is the hardest part to talk about, is when things started to change. Franklin was on paper a very healthy dog, given the circumstances. Your typical bulldog problems, allergies, nope. Ear problems, nope. Overweight, not at all. Paw cysts, I think maybe one time ever, and it subsided in a day. He was so healthy until he wasn't. When Franklin got sick, life kind of changed. It began around Halloween of 2024. He was stricken with an extremely bad case of gastroenteritis. To be honest, I wasn't sure he was going to make it through the weekend. He did manage to finally get better, however, he was never the same again. After that, he started on a slow neurological decline. This is the kind of sickness that teaches you how fragile time really is. The last year of his life was not easy. After the gastro issue, he started having seizures on Thanksgiving of 2024. That was super scary. It's so hard to watch your baby in that state and feel so helpless. Emergency vets said that without diagnostic testing, like an MRI or a spinal tap, she couldn't 100% diagnose him with anything, but that the bulldog breed was very prone to a brain tumor called a glioma. This is a brain tumor inside the brain, an inoperable one. She said that was most likely what was causing seizures to start so late in life. I didn't want to believe it. My healthy boy. 2025 meant lots of appointments, medications. We sought out multiple holistic vets, and he was getting acupuncture and red light therapy and all of the holistic things. He fought. He really did. He outlived what any vet said he would. His own vet, the neurologist, the ER vet, he sure did. I would have done anything if it meant he was here and happy, even if it were just for one more day. He deserved that, and so much more. Last year was a lot of surprises, ups and downs, and lots of learning for Mommy. I did everything I could for him. I truly hope I did right by him. If I could do it all over again, I would without a second thought, even if it meant this heartbreak all over again. I became his caretaker. I knew when he was ill. I knew what medications to give when. I slept with him wherever he slept. The floor, his pack and play that he loved. Even if it meant me sleeping in the fetal position repeated nights, none of that mattered. The last week was extremely tough, watching him try to be strong when his body was tired. It's almost like it wasn't even Franklin. I just tried to hold him and comfort him and tell him how much Mommy loves him and let him know that he is forever my hero. Our last year together. The last year was heavy, but it was also sacred. It was filled with moments I didn't know would matter so much later. Extra kisses, longer hugs, more just-in-case things. The hand feedings. There were times I would dread feeding time because he took an excess of 30 minutes sometimes to eat one bowl of food. I would do anything to be able to sit next to my boy on the floor and feed him every last spoonful. I didn't leave him. I didn't give up on him because he never would have given up on me. We walked that entire year together. So many moments I wish I had just stopped for a second and stood still and appreciated everything for what it was, knowing that tomorrow was never promised. Losing him. When Franklin left, the world didn't stop. My world came crashing down, but the world around me kept going. And that was one of the hardest parts. Life kept moving while my heart was shattered.
Every day without him meant another day farther from the last time I got to pet him or pick the hairs between his eyes. He hated that, but it was always so relaxing for me. Farther from the last time I gave him tissies and rubbed his butt. Farther from the last time I told him that he was the most handsomest boy in the whole wide world. Farther from the last time I got to tell him how much I love him and that he will always be mommy's hero. I didn't just lose a dog. I lost my routine, my solstice, my sun on a rainy day. He was my comfort, my sense of safety, my stability when the world around us was anything but. I lost the being who knew me better than anyone else. It feels quite like I lost myself. Franklin was my soulmate. He chose me to be his mama for a reason. I may never know what his reasoning was, but whatever it was the right one. Losing him felt like losing a piece of myself, a big piece. His legacy and the effect he left on me. Franklin changed me in ways I didn't know I needed to be changed. He taught me patience, presence, how to love without conditions or expectations. He taught me that unconditional love can exist in even the most ugly of places. He showed me what loyalty actually looks like, what leadership really is, and what it means to be steady in such a chaotic world. Because of him, I will love deeper. I'm not sure if I could ever love another dog as deep as I love this dog, and that's okay. However, because of him, it's surely possible. And even though he's gone, he's still leading me. He's still the head of our pack, just in a different way. If you're listening and you're grieving a pet, I see you. I hear you, and you are not alone. Your pain is real. Your love mattered, and your bond didn't end. It just changed forms. Your grief is your love, just in a different form. Franklin's body left that snowy, freezing cold day, December 10th, 2025. I carried his lifeless body to the vet's car where she had bedding set up. I tucked his little body in, kissed his forehead, and told him I love him and thanked him for choosing me to be his mommy. But he is still everywhere in me. Everything I do, every decision I make, every conversation I have, all of it. And he will always be. Thank you for letting me share Franklin with you guys.